Okay, we're going to start off with just a basic review going through algebra questions. Again, if you're a junior in high school, want to refresh some of your algebra skills starting a new class, this video would be perfect for you. Pause the video, try them out, and then see how you do. All right, so for this first one here, again, we're solving for x here. Basic question. You want to get rid of that positive 17, so you're going to have to subtract 17 on both sides of the equation. In which case here we get x is 32 minus 17, and then x comes out to be 15. Okay, let's try another. Let's say we have 15 minus x is 8 in this case. Again, I want to solve for x. I want to get rid of this 15. The operation in front of the 15, if they don't write, is actually a positive. So for me to move that to the other side of the equation, I'm going to have to subtract 15 on both sides. In which case here I get negative 8 is 8 minus 15. Notice I grabbed the sign in front of the x as well, right? So I put that negative sign in front of that x as well. That's really important that you do that. 8 minus 15 is going to be negative 7. And now here I want to go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to divide across by negative 1, in which case we get x is 7. All right, let's continue. So in this situation here, it's the same idea. If you want, you can rewrite this as x over 4 equals a half. A lot of times people forget when someone writes 1/4 x, that's equivalent to writing x over 4. These mean the same thing. And algebraically, sometimes this is a lot easier to view. So now if these mean the same thing, the operation between the x and the 4 is division. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the opposite operation. And that opposite operation here is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply across by 4, and by doing so, you end up canceling off these 4s, which was the intention, and you get x equals 2. All right, let's try another. So in this question here, you'll see now we've got two numbers we have to get out of the way. If I want to solve for x, I have to get rid of the 2, and I have to get rid of the 7. You get rid of pluses and minuses first. So in this case here, I want to get rid of that positive 7 first. So you subtract 7 on both sides, in which case I get 2x equals 10. And now I want to get rid of that 2. The operation is division. That'll do that. And because the original operation was multiplication, in which case we get 5. Okay, so this question here, we have 9 plus 3y equals 57. Again, I want to get rid of the 9 and the positive 3. And I want to bring that over to the other side of the equation. So the operation in front of that 9 is actually a positive. So to undo that, we have to subtract 9 on both sides. And you get 3y equals 57 minus 9 is going to be 48. And then now the operation between the y and the 3 is multiplication. So now I'm going to divide across by 3. And dividing across by 3, we get y equals 16. And again, I encourage you guys, pause the video, try the question out yourself, and then see how you do. So this question here, I want to get rid of the minus 4 and the positive 4. Again, you get rid of pluses and minuses first. So in this case here, I have to get rid of that minus 4 first. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides of the equation. Give me negative 36 is going to be 4z. Now the operation between the 4 and the z is multiplication. So to undo that, I have to divide both sides by z, in which case we get z equals negative 9, or negative 9 equals z. Obviously, you can rewrite this. If the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, then flipping it would also be true. Again, pause the video, try the question out yourself. This one here, I rewrite it as x over 8 equals negative 9. Now it's quite clear. You can see the operation between the x and the 8 is division. So the opposite is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply across by 8. And these will cancel. I get x equals negative 72. So for number 8 here, we've got to get rid of this minus 7. The operation is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply across by minus 7. And because of that multiplication, these will cancel. I get x is positive 56. All right, so again, I encourage you guys, pause the video, try the questions out yourself. I want to solve for q here. I have to move everything over. Whenever you see fractions, it's your best approach is to get rid of the fractions. So I want to think of a number I can multiply across by. That's going to get rid of that 4 and the 8. There's something called the lowest common multiple. And the lowest common multiple is going to be the smallest number that's going to get rid of this 4 and 8. And that would be 8 here. So if I multiply across by 8, again, you could have chose a larger number that would have done that. Like you could have chose 32, for instance. But that's too big. You want to find the smallest number that's going to do that job. And that, in this case, that becomes 32. And you'll notice here the 8 and the 4 reduced to become 2. And the 8 and 8 completely reduced. So I end up getting... that becomes 18, and you get your 43. And now you're back to a more basic question, right? I want to get rid of the 8 and the negative 18. You get rid of pluses and minuses first. So in this case here, I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And we end up getting here 8q equals 61. And now the operation between the 8 and the q is multiplication. So we're going to divide across by 8, in which case we get here q is 61 over 8. So take a look at number 10 here. We have 2/5 t plus 3 is 11. Again, you can rewrite this as, if you want, as 2t over 5 plus 3 is 11. But now, as soon as you see fractions, we should try to get rid of the fractions. So in this case here, I'm going to multiply across by 5. So everywhere I see a 5, everywhere I see a term, I should say, I'm going to put a 5 in front. So anything separated by addition or subtraction, we put a 5 in front. Now, because of that, these will cancel. I'll end up getting 2t plus 15 is 55. Now it's a basic question. I can go ahead and subtract 15 on both sides, and you get 2t equals 40. Again, the operation between the t and the 2 is multiplication, and you get t is 20. Again, same approach with number 11 here. You want to get rid of the fractions right away. So in this case here, I want to multiply across by 3. So anything separated by addition or subtraction, we're going to multiply across by 3. And now those 3's will cancel. You get n plus 12 is negative 18. Then I'm going to go ahead and subtract 12 on both sides. And I get n equals negative 18 minus 12 is negative 30. Okay, let's take a look at number 12 here. Now, number 12 involves distribution, right? So now you're multiplying a monomial into a binomial here. So you have to distribute that to both terms. So this becomes 4x minus 8 is 9. And now you're back to a more basic question that you've seen before, right? Earlier on in the video, you're going to add 8 to both sides. You get 17. Then I can divide across by 4. And we get 17 over 4. And that's in lowest terms. You always want to express your final answer as a fraction in lowest terms. Okay, so for number 13 here, we have variables on both sides of the equation. So you want to bring them to one side. In this case, I'm going to try to bring the x's to the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides, in which case I get 7x minus 4x is 3x minus 3. And as intended, these ones will cancel. Now you're back to a basic equation. I want to solve for x. I got to get rid of the positive 3 and the negative 3, right? Pluses and minuses get moved first. So in this case, you get 6. Divide out, you get 2. Okay, so take a look at number 14 here. Again, we want to solve for y. I'm going to have to do that distribution first. So if we do the distribution, we get 9y minus 3 is 3y minus 12. I want to solve for y, so I'm going to bring the y's to one side. So subtract 3y on both sides. We get 6y minus 3 is negative 12. Add 3 to both sides. We get 6y equals negative 9. Okay, so for number 15 here, again, I want to get the r's. I want to solve for r, get it by itself. I got to bring all the r's to one side, but you can't do that until you do the distribution, because both of these r's are kind of stuck inside of this multiplication. So by distributing the r, again, remember it's all multiplication when you distribute. Don't forget to move that sign in front. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 4r to both sides of the equation, in which case I get r minus 6 equals 4. Now you're going to go ahead and add 6 to both sides of the equation, and you get r is 10. And notice here, I had a minus 6. I had to add 6 to both sides. Let me put that in for you guys. I had to add 6 to both sides to cancel these off, and you get r equals 10. Okay, so take a look at number 16 here. With number 16, you got to watch out here. Again, the goal is to solve for x. You want to get the x's to one side. You want to bring everything over, but I can't do that until I go ahead and do my distribution. You really have to watch out here. This 4 is only being multiplied by the binomial. So you're only going to be multiplying the 4 by the x and the negative 2. That 4 does not touch, does not go to the positive 5. Likewise, you cannot add the 3 and the 2 together. If you're using your BEDMAS terms, you know that by doing the 3 and the 2, you're performing the operation of addition. But that happens after the operation of multiplication, right? If you follow BEDMAS, right? Addition is all the way over here. We're taking care of multiplication first. So by doing so, I have to first distribute the 2 into your binomial. In which case I get 4x minus 8 plus 5 is 3 plus 2x minus 6. Now before you start moving stuff around, you should collect like terms. And you'll notice here these are like terms. I can reduce that to become a minus 3. And likewise here, the 3 and the negative 6. Here, positive 3 and negative 6 were reduced to become minus 3. Now again, we're back to an older question we've done previously. I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides of the equation. That gives me 2x minus 3 is negative 3. Notice I put that minus 3 back down. A lot of times students will forget. They'll just put a positive 3. You really got to watch out for that. Now I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I get 2x equals 0. And the operation is division. And in which case we get x is 0 for this question. Okay, so let's take a look at number 17 here. With number 17 here, again, you want to get the y's to one side of the equation, but I can't do that until I do my distribution. So I'm going to have to distribute the y, and the 3, I should say, into the binomial, and likewise the 2. So this becomes y plus 3y minus 18 equals 6 minus 2y plus 3y. Now, again, you should collect like terms, and these are like terms, and these are like terms. Now, a common mistake are I can't add these all up all the way across. You can only collect like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So in this case here, the y plus 3y becomes 4y minus 18. And then in this case here, again, what I don't touch, I write back down. The negative 18, I wrote it back down, the equal sign, and likewise the 6. Now in this case here, I have negative 2y plus 3y. It's just going to be positive y. And now I want to solve for y, so I'm going to subtract y on both sides. And I get 3y minus 18 is 6. Add 18 to both sides. 3y equals 24. And then we can go ahead and divide across by 3. So I get y equals 24 over 3, which is 8. Okay, let's take a look at number 18. Again, pause the video, try the question out yourself, and then see how you did. So with this one here, we want to go ahead and solve for x, but I have the problem of the 3 and the 2 are in the way. And you should always get rid of fractions. So I want to calculate again that least common multiple. What's the smallest number that's going to cancel off that 3 and the 2? Well, that's going to be 6. So I'm going to multiply across by 6, multiply across by 6, and multiply across by 6. Again, everything's separated by addition, equal signs, or subtraction. You put a 6 in front, 6 in front, 6 in front. Now it's just a matter of simplifying this. So the 6 and the 3 reduced to become a 2. 6 and the 2 reduced to become a 3. This becomes 2x plus 3 is, this just is 6 times 2x is 12x. Now the question, as you can see, is much simpler. Back to some of the earlier questions we were looking at. I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 12x on both sides. I get negative 10x plus 3 is 0. I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides and then divide out that negative 10, in which case we get 3 over 10. Okay, let's take a look at number 19. Again, as I said before, pause the video, try the question out yourself, and then see how you did. So with this question here, I want to get rid of the 5 and 2. Every time you see fractions, you want to get rid of those right away. So in this case here, I'm going to multiply across. Again, finding that least common multiple between 5 and 2, that's going to be 10. So in this case here, everything separated by addition or subtraction. I'm going to put a 10 in front. So that 10, you're multiplying the whole thing, a minus 2. If you want, and you might be more comfortable, you can write this as 10a minus 10 times 2. Both are fine. So now here I want to reduce this. The 10 and the 5, that operation between them is division, so that becomes a 2. The 10 and the 2 becomes a 5. So now we have 2 times 2a plus 5a equals 10a, and that becomes a minus 20. Well, 2 times 2a is 4a. And you can see here, now the question is much easier to solve. Again, collect like terms. You want to solve for a, so I'm going to subtract 10a on both sides. I get negative a equals negative 20. And dividing out that negative 1, you get a equals 20. Okay, so take a look at number 20. Again, pause the video, try the question out yourself. For number 20 here, we have to get rid of the 3, the 4, and the 2. So I have to think of a number that's going to cancel off the 3, the 4, and the 2. Well, the smallest number that I can think of is going to be a 12. So I'm going to multiply across by 12. Now, everything's separated by addition, subtraction. You have to put a 12 in front. So in this case here, it's going to be 12 times 5 minus 12 times 4/3 x equals 12 times 3/4 x plus 12 times 5 over 2. Now that you've done that here, the 12 and the 5 becomes 60. 12 and the 3 reduced to become 4. 12 and the 4 reduced to become 3. And 12 and the 2 reduced to become 6. So this becomes minus 4 times 4x is 3 times 3x plus 6 times 5. And then 4 times 4 is 16. That becomes 9x plus 30. So now I want to solve for x here. And to solve for x here, I got to get the x's to one side. So I'm going to subtract 9x on both sides, in which case we get 60 minus 25x equals 30. Then I'm going to go ahead and the operation in front of this 60 is addition. So I'm going to subtract 60 on both sides, in which case we get minus 25x is negative 30. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide across by negative 25 on both sides. And I get x is 30 over 25, which will reduce to become 6/5. Right? And how I got that 6/5 was I just divided the top and bottom of this equation by 5. Okay, so here, take a look at number 21. For number 21, again, pause the video, try it out yourself. But for number 21 here, we want to get rid of the 3 and the 2. Again, a third here is being multiplied by the x plus 1, and the half is being multiplied by the x minus 2. So I want to get rid of this, but this is all one term, all connected. So if I'm going to multiply across by 6, because that's the number that's going to do it here, you really just have to multiply the 6 on the left-hand side, and then multiply that 6 on the right-hand side. The reason for that is this is all connected because of the operation of multiplication. Had you distributed the third and distributed the half first, then you would multiply the 6 by each of these individually. But that's not the case. We're going to keep it together in this situation. And now the 6 and the 3 reduced to become 2. 6 and the 2 reduced to become 3. So this becomes 2 times x plus 1 equals 3 times x minus 2. Now again, notice you're in a previous question. You want to solve for the x's. You have to first do your distribution here. And in which case I get 2x plus 2 equals 3x minus 6. And you want to solve for x, so I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. And we get negative x plus 2 is negative 6. And we get negative x equals negative 6 minus 2. And again, I want to solve for x, so divide across by negative 1. And we get x is 8. Okay, let's try another one. Much like 21 here. So again, we're in a situation where I want to solve for x, but I have multiplication of a monomial into a binomial with a fraction that we're dealing with here. We have minus 1 over 6 and 2 over 3. Again, the number that's going to, you want to think of a number that's going to get rid of the lowest common multiple between 3 and 6. That's going to be 6. Now what you do is you're just going to put that 6 in front. And again, before you move on, I hope you did try this question out yourself and see how you did on it. Now because of that here, these 6's will cancel. I'll get -1 or just negative 3 minus 5x. And the 6 and the 2 will reduce, 6 and the 3 will reduce to become a 2. And then you have your 2 times 2 is 4. And now you can see we're back to an easier question. We're going to distribute the minus sign, distribute the 4, and we get -3 plus 5x is 20x plus 12. And now I want to go ahead and I want to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides. And I get -3 minus 15x equals 12. And then we want to go ahead and I want to solve for x. So I have to get rid of this first. That operation is subtraction. So I'm going to have to add both sides. And I get 15. Dividing out, you'll get -1 by dividing across by -15. Okay, number 22. Okay, so let's take a look at number 23. Again, pause the video, try this out yourself. Now I need to think of a number that's going to cancel off 5, 10, and 2. Well, that number is going to be 10, right? 10 will divide, you can divide 5, 10, and 20 into 10. So I'm going to multiply everything by 10. Anything separated by addition or subtraction, you're going to put a 10 across. So in this case here, it's going to be 10 times 3x over 10 minus 10 times 2x over 5 equals 10 times 3x over 2 plus 10 times a half. Now when we do this here, the 10 and the 10 will cancel. 10 and the 5 reduced to become a 2. 10 and the 2 reduced to become a 5. And 10 and the 2 will reduce to become a 5 as well. So this becomes 3x minus 2 times 2 is 4, so that'll be 4x. 5 times 3 gives you 15x, and then plus 5. So again, now the question is much easier to answer. So in this case here, we want to go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides. And I get okay, just starting again. Okay, so now we have 3x minus 4x equals 15x plus 5. Again, you should collect like terms where you can. So these are like on the same side of the equation. That'll reduce to become -x is 15x plus 5. Now again, I want to solve for x here, so I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides. And this becomes -16x equals 5. Divide across by -16. And I get x is -5 over 16. Okay, so take a look here. This is number 24. Again, pause the video. Try this question out yourself. I want to go ahead and solve for y here. So I'm going to have to get rid of the 5 and the 4. So the lowest common multiple between 5 and 4 is 20. So we're going to go ahead and multiply across by 20. Everything separated by addition and subtraction. We put a 20 in front. Now the 20 and the 5 reduced to become 4. 20 and the 4 reduced to become 5. And that reduces to become 5. So this becomes 4. Y plus 3 minus 25 is 5 times y minus 1. So now I can go ahead and solve for y, but first I have to go ahead and do that distribution. So this becomes 4y plus 12 minus 25 is 5y minus 5. Then I'm going to collect like terms. So I have positive 12 minus 25 is minus 13. And now you're back to a much simpler question. I want to go ahead and solve this. So I'm going to subtract 5y on both sides. And you get minus y minus 13 is -5. Negative y is -13. -5 plus 13. And I get -y is 8. Divide across by -1. You get y is -8. Okay, so let's take a look at number 25. Again, pause the video, try the question out yourself. So for number 25 here, again, you can't collect the x's together until I do this multiplication. You have to do your distribution first. Now watch out, you can't collect up the -2 and the -4 can't come together. Likewise, the 22 and the 8. Using your bed mass, multiplication comes first, so we have to go ahead and do that distribution. So this becomes negative 10x plus 2 minus 4 equals 22 minus 7x plus 24x minus 8. Now I would go ahead and collect like terms. We have like terms between these two here, so this becomes negative 10x minus 2 equals, once again here we have like terms between the 22 and the minus 8, and then we also have like terms between the negative 7x and the positive 24. So in this case here, the 22 minus 8 becomes 14, and the negative 7x plus 24x becomes positive 17x. So now I want to go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 17x on both sides. We get minus 27x minus 2 is 14. Add 2 to both sides. You get 14 plus 2. Okay, so you get minus 27x equals 16. Divide across by minus 27 on both sides of the equation. You get x is negative 16 over 27. And that would be in lowest terms. Okay, so this concludes the algebra review. There's lots more questions and types to try, but this is a good introduction